Welcome to the Implementing Analytics webcast series, this on influencing decisions with non-financial data. First, an introduction. Aurora Prediction is like Excel, Big Data, and AI all in one. We enable the CFO to solve their number one anxiety, making their quarterly revenue target and knowing the levers to pull to propel revenue growth. Now to our webcast. First, the goal of finance. Finance wants to advance from the trusted scorekeeper to the strategic partner. In other words, to have a seat at the table. To do this requires analytics that provide insight to influence decision making. Let's explore examples of insight with non-financial data. In this case, correlations with non-financial data for insights into sales trends using Salesman tenure, customer satisfaction, and leading economic indicators. Using insights from correlations on Salesman tenure, in this first graph, we're going to see sales of new deals. This is financial data, and new deals are going down. In this next slide, we see the volume of new deals, which is CRM data, is also declining. In this graph, we're looking at the tenure of salesmen, typically HR data. And we see that the number of new deals, in this case, is highly correlated with salesman tenure. The number of new deals being the x-axis and salesman tenure being the y-axis. This correlation advises us to effect a compensation plan to better retain salesmen. If we look at insights from customer satisfaction, we can see that revenue, in this case, which is financial data, has started to decline. We can also look at revenue growth by customer, which is also financial data, and we can see that the revenue growth varies. In this case, we're going to run a correlation with customer satisfaction, which is typically external data, and the x-axis is revenue growth, and the y-axis is customer satisfaction. Here we can see that revenue growth by customer is also highly correlated with customer satisfaction. What we don't see on this graph is that there's a threshold. In this case, customers with satisfaction greater than 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 show growth. Customers from 7 to 8 show little or mild growth, and below 7 is a cliff where customer growth declines and customers churn. This correlation advises us to institute practices that contribute to customer satisfaction. Okay, now let's get a bit more sophisticated. In this case, we're going to look at a manufacturer of business and consumer electronics that has a number of strategic business units. In this case, we're going to be looking at the business solutions unit. And what we want to do is correlate civilian unemployment with gross distributor sales of the business solutions business unit. And we're going to correlate civilian unemployment as a 4-month leading indicator. And we can see by this readout over here that it is well correlated, in this case 2 bars strong, or for those of you who know the coefficient of correlation, it's 0.835. Now it shows red or negative because unemployment is inversely correlated with sales. In other words, as unemployment goes down, sales go up. The green bars in this case to the left of the dotted line are the historical gross distributor sales. And to the right of the dotted line is the 4-month forecast. Now what we can see is that these green bars fit fairly well around this red line up to the point of this dotted line. And the red line is a statistically generated forecast using unemployment as a 4-month leading indicator. The yellow bars, or the yellow lines I should say, around the red line happen to be 2 standard deviations. And what those 2 yellow lines mean is that anything that falls within the 2 yellow lines would be a reasonable forecast. And anything that falls outside the 2 yellow lines would be unreasonable. And this is proved if we look at the past. We can see that not only do the green bars fall closely around the red line, but they also fall within the 2 yellow lines. So what we notice are a couple of things in our forecast. First, if we did not have these yellow lines and we looked at the forecasts for September, October, November, December, and compare them to the same time, September, October, November, December last year, we might be led to think that this forecast is fairly aggressive, since it's a fairly large increase over the prior year. However, when we put the 2 yellow lines in place, we see that the forward forecast, the forward 4 months, are not only skewed toward the bottom range of the yellow lines, but 1 month in November is actually outside the range. So certainly for that month of November, we would say the forecast is unreasonable. Now here's the perfect blend of humans and machines. So a machine, in this case using statistics and leading indicators of unemployment with gross distributor sales, is telling us that the forecast seems relatively low, and at least in 1 month is too low. Now what would happen is we could ask the manager of the business solutions unit to explain why the forecast is the way it is. After all, this forecast came from the CRM system. And the business solution manager can come in and he can say, look, the reason why the forecast is the way it is because our biggest distributor and his biggest store are going to be closed for the next 4 months because his biggest store has had a water main break that's effectively closed off all the streets surrounding the store. And until that's repaired, what we have done is extracted those sales from the forecast. Now that is a very reasonable answer, and one that is using information about the future that wasn't contained in the past data. So without that specific knowledge, we would be led to believe that this forecast that is given us from the CRM system would be unreasonable, or with that knowledge in this case, we find that it is reasonable. So here is a perfect way to not only take forecasts, but test forecasts for their reasonability using non-financial data, in this case civilian unemployment. For any questions you have on this webcast, please contact me. I'm Robert Zwirling, Managing Director of Aurora Predictions. And thank you so much for your time today, and we appreciate your attendance.